Alright, howdy everybody. Unfortunately, my time is up with the iFi Micro iTube2. This is the appreciation tour we all voted on HeadFi, and this was the clear winner, the iTube2. I had no experience with the iTube1. I did hear good things about it, and who doesn't like a little bit of what we call tubey goodness or tubey gooiness? All right, so typical iFi box. Nice rectangular box. On the side, it tells it gives you a little bit of what it is. It does list. If you can, get on the HeadFi site, the HeadFi thread for this, and Lawrence goes into some wonderful history about why they chose the General Electric new old stock GE 5670 and why it's superior. It's a fascinating little historical, I think 3 or 4 part historical aspect of why they chose this one. This is military grade. And I don't want to give it all away, but part of it was that the military hoarded these away for years, and then iFi, in their infinite wisdom, 2 thumbs up, there's 2 thumbs up, said, hey, you know, that's a really good sounding tube. We'd like to buy a whole bunch of it, and I'm very happy that they did. It's a beautiful unit. I'll get into that. Then let's see, 3D bass. X-Bass Plus 3D, and X-Bass Plus, it actually has multiple settings on that. Then this can be a set or a push-pull. Magic. That's really one way to describe it. And then it talks about the premium parts. All right. So front of the box, back of the box, again typical. It says US version, so it had US plug. Has all the specs on there. I'm not going to spend too much time on that. You can always get online and look at those. This can be used as a buffer or a preamp, and I mainly used it as a preamp, along with that excellent little black beauty right there, the Black Label. Wow. I'll get to that. So, opening the box real quick, you'll notice I already have it out. Again, typical iFi box. What I did notice when I opened it, though, is there's only one of those boxes underneath. Okay, that little card. 3 easy steps to accessing it. Nice little touch. This I kept handy, and I'll tell you why right there. 4 settings. Well, okay, 2, 3, and 4, and it tells you what each of them do. The set, push, pull. If I can zoom in, the set, the sound signature is single-ended triode. Push, then the middle, which produces like a classic. And I can't remember who did this, but they said they liked this one the best because it almost gave a classical sound to it. This one would be a straight push-pull tube amplifier. I gotta say, depending upon the songs in the headphones, and you'll notice I have in the background AudioQuest Night Owl again, Unique Melodies Martian, again, thank you iFi, and then the Grado GH2s. I was lucky to have these together. Oh my goodness, you'll have to wait for the video on those other than with this. But using the Grados, I mainly kept it in the middle with the classic sound. I varied back and forth between the push-pull and the middle with those, with the Night Owls. And with the Martians, I mainly kept it on sorry, not the bottom, the middle, the classic. All right? So that takes care of number 2. Number 3 is the bass, and you can go switched out, 12 dB or 6 dB, depending on speakers and what have you. I'm not going to get into that much. You can play with it. And then holographic, which again, the Black Label 2 has, and the holographic actually has 3. It can do a 30-degree mix offset. It can do the 3D matrix switched out, and then original. Okay, I mainly kept it in the middle. I mainly kept it out, but I did notice on a couple of Stevie Ray Vaughan songs, I would switch it to the holographic, and then with the Grados again, which were I probably used them 85% of the time, but I did give a good comparison, and those will be in my written. I kept that with either the 3D, the 30-degree, or the neutral. Fabulous sound, just really good tube. And then on the back, you'll notice that you can set it for buffer. This is the underside dip switches, which would be on the bottom. I'll show you too when I pick it up. And then there's 4 settings. I would assume you could do more, but these are the recommended. Buffer, which is the way it came, buffer 9, preamp 0, and preamp 9. I ran it mainly. I did try buffer 0 because that's the way it came, but I mainly ran this as a preamp out of my MacBook Pro into the Black Label using the 3.5 plug on the front, and then headphones out of that. I don't know if you can hear the Carolina Wren out in my backyard. What a cool bird. They're really nice. They're really cool. But those are the settings, okay? And it comes with a little screwdriver, which is in this. But this is what I noticed. The plug, which is off in the background over there, you can see it, I'm not even going to pick it up, goes in here, replacing one of the typical iFi boxes. This one doesn't come with a whole heck of a lot. It does have the familiar dual end purple RCA, and then an extender in case you wanted to, oops, that's not the extender, there it is. A right angle plug, which you can use for a more compact setup, and then this screwdriver. This screwdriver can be used very carefully to undo in case you wanted to do some tube rolling with it, but I very carefully used it. I put a little piece of cloth on the end to switch the buffers, okay? You'll notice real quick, I do have it hooked together, so this is the way Lawrence, I spent a good evening with Lawrence via email. Just plug this into my headphone jack. This is a mono price, there it is, got it right, mono price, and it goes to a dual. And then the dual RCA goes out and into the front of the black label. Really wonderful sound. Well, for ease, I'm going to unplug that. So flipping this over, this is what I was talking about with the buffer, okay? It'd be kind of hard to see, but there you go. Those are the switches. So by turning those switches either up or down, you can vary it, and on the back they do list all four of them. There's buffer 0, buffer 9, preamp 0, and then you'll notice I put one of the plugs here. I didn't want to cover that up. I probably should have put it right there, because when I do press down on this to toggle the switches, it does kind of vibrate a little, okay? So there we go. There's the 3D, and they have it on the bottom, plus 30, then the neutral, then the other one, and then the X bass, and then the push-pull and the set. As a preamp, I ran this all the way up. When you turn this on, the tube, you can see that in there, but when that light goes yellow, that's when you know you're good to go. This does get extremely hot, but it's a tube amp. And then on the side, there's a plug-in. All right. How would I describe the sound of this? Well, it's a tube amp, so it's going to be naturally a little bit warm. Grabbing the Grados. It's going to be a little bit warm, but what I noticed is what a wonderful, open, airy sound combined with that. This gave the Grados a little bit more warmth. These solo with the black label were just incredible. And again, I'll get to that with my review of these. These are fully open air. So almost frolicking through the field is how I describe this, but I mean that in a good way. What this did is this gave the bass. This gave the bass line that groundedness of the tube sound. I can't say that it added a whole lot to treble and the mids, but it worked in conjunction perfectly. I don't know if I'd stack these. I'd probably get a stacking kit. But leaving the X bass in the middle and then the push-pull either to the classical or the studio, I left it mostly on the classical. The 3D I left in neutral, so I had it out of the equation. Right? That's just the way I did it. I did notice that with the Night Owls on a couple of Stevie Ray Vaughan songs, it did add to it. And then the same thing on that, but mainly I left it out. Okay? So the multitude of setups you can run with this, all these nice wonderful cables stuck together. There we go. All right. Give it plenty of options. RCA cables out. It'd be kind of like the shit stack that I have. RCA cables out and into the other one, and then you'd plug the headphones into that. I was a little bit disappointed that I had to go 3.5 on this, but it didn't really matter. The sound was good. So iTube2 loaner unit. Wonderful tube sound. You can definitely tell a difference. I didn't run it on the set very much. I just didn't because I think that runs it like a solid state. And to me, the point of having a tube amp is you run it as a tube amp. To me, this gave the most holographic sound without the 3D. It gave a nice concert hall sound with that good deep bass line you'd get from the big bass cellos. This one gave that nice tight, soundproof, but wonderfully sounding studio sound, which if you've ever heard anything fresh from a studio, it just sounds really, it sounds right. Well, concert hall, nice concert hall, you go see a classical or whatever, like Stevie Ray Vaughan at Austin City Limits. This is the way I would go. If you wanted to have it sound a little more intimate, you'd put it onto the studio. But if you want that full aspect of it, the full aspect of this, I ran it the classical sound. I do like that with the silver. You can see on the volume pot, you can see the little notch right there. A little bit hard to see on that. So $375, I think, retail on this. This is the tour unit. Lawrence, I thank you very much. I give you a thumbs up this side, because if I did it with this one, I'd let go. Again, you have all those directions on the back. A little bit easier to see maybe, but I just kept this handy. I kept this handy so I could run, so I could know what I was doing, and I knew what the switches were. Tube sound, again, wonderful GE tube. The history of the tube is well worth a read while you're listening to this, while you're breaking it in. It warmed up probably within mostly a minute, and I ran this the first 2 nights. I had this going for probably 5-6 hours straight with no problems whatsoever. It does, again, it's a tube amp, so it does get hot, but they did, you know, it's a tube amp. It's supposed to get hot. It gives off a lot of heat. I like this amp. This combined wonderfully with the power amp of the Black Label. That's a fairly dark sound. Just gave it a little bit more, not thickness, but a little bit more lushness, a more velvety type sound coming out of this than just that thick sound. I don't know what else I can say with this. Borrow one, find one to demo, play with these switches. All 3 of those headphones, the 2 headphones, the IEMs, the Martians, sounded very differently. This definitely, I think, evened out some of the discrepancies with all 3 of them. Not that just running the pure Black Label with all 3 of those is a bad thing, but this brought out, this kind of evened out the deficiencies of the unit. I was using the MacBook Pro. It's not the best. I did not hook this. I think I did hook it to my Shanling M1. Not the best sound. I think this is too far above the M1. If you had something like the FIO X5 3rd generation, the Opus 1 or 2, or the Shanling M5, or any of those comparable, then that combination, if you plugged it in, would make a difference. But this was just, I think, too much for the M1. Wonderful compatibility with MacBook Pro. Bypassed all the deficiencies of that. Brought to life whatever sound I was playing with this. Run it through that and put it in your headphones. I really like this. Portable, fairly affordable for something like this. If you do a lot of work at the office or home on your computer, this is a nice little piece to throw into your mix along with whatever amp you have. iFi iTubes2, preamp and buffer. I like it. Thank you very much for the opportunity, Lawrence and iFi. I really appreciate it. All right? That's about all I can say without rambling on. Bye. Take care.